Today we are making our mesophilic heirloom collection that you see right here. We love this collection because it's super easy to make. Mesophilic means that it sits out on your counter overnight or all day while you're at work. So when you wake up or you come home, boom, it's ready. It's great. Even better, since it's an heirloom collection, that means as long as you take care of it the way that we show you, it will last forever. Our heirloom collection also is a great source of gut bacteria and protein, so we strongly recommend making this at home. Let's get to it. So the first part of our heirloom mesophilic instructions is to activate the packet that you're going to get in your bag. What you're going to do is you're going to add 1 cup of milk into your jar, and you're going to add 1 packet into your cup of milk. You're going to leave it out and you're going to let it culture. So let's do that. We're going to fill it to the 1 cup line, which is right here in our jar. You can go ahead and measure it in your jar. You can also measure it in a measuring cup if that is better for you. We are going to use our jar measurements. And then we are going to add our packet. I like to give my packet a little bit of shake just to get all of the powder away from my tear line. I always give it a little bit of a wiggle to make sure I'm getting all the powder out the corners. And then we're gonna stir it in. Stirring it in helps hydrate the culture, and it's gonna help disperse it evenly as well. So stir for a few minutes. You can also do this by putting the lid on the jar and shaking it. But what you wanna do is you wanna dissolve all the powder. So all of this little white specks that you see on the side are part of your culture, so make sure you scrape that down and stir it in. And we're gonna cover it with a coffee filter and a rubber band. And then we are going to put this in a warm place, 70 to 77 degrees, which is typically household temperature. If you like to keep your house a little bit cooler, we recommend storing it near warm appliances like your fridge or in your oven with the pilot light on. Just make sure not to turn your oven on with your yogurt in there. It'll take 24 to 48 hours, so the activator is a little bit longer than the actual making process, but really important to get your yogurt started. So we're gonna leave this out to culture for 24 hours, 48 hours, and we'll be back to see the results. It's been 24 hours. We're gonna go ahead and look at the activator that we made. So, some good signs in our activator. You can see that it's tilting away from the jar a little bit. It's still kind of running. You can see the jiggle that it has, but I bet it has a few chunks in it. So let's pour it in a bowl and see if we can see our chunkies. So when we take it off, we got a nice little jiggle, nice little mess, and a good little plop. Still a little runny. We still don't have large chunks in there, but it is definitely on its way to being cultured. It's been 48 hours and our activator should be ready. Let's check it out. It looks very nice. Just from peeking in at the top, I can begin to see a little bit of curd separation happening, and when I tilt it, I can see some chunks forming. So let's get a spoon and see what she looks like. This one, you can tell, is definitely more stiff. We have more height when I get a spoonful out, and it comes out in more of like a curd, chunky type of style. And it looks very good. So remember, your starter is gonna set up a little bit in the fridge, but this one is absolutely ready to go. Our starter was ready after 48 hours, but we just wanted to give you a quick glimpse of what it looks like after the fridge. So you heard me mention that sometimes it still looks a little thin before it hits the fridge. This is what it looks like after. It's gonna be perfect. So when I tilt my jar, you can see the separation away from the jar. That is absolutely what we are looking for. So you see those thick chunks, and you see it hold its structure. Of course, you can give it a stir to smooth it out if you don't like that thickness, and you still got a nice usable yogurt. Now that we've activated our yogurt, we're ready to move on to the next step. The best part, actually making it. We're going to start with 4 cups of milk, and we're gonna add a 1/4 cup of starter to that milk. Remember, the milk to starter ratio is going to be 1 cup of milk to 1 cup of starter yogurt. Let me show you how it's done. Again, we like to use the measurements on the side of our jar, but if you'd like to use a measuring cup, you can do that as well. We're gonna get ourselves a nice clean pour of milk here. Perfect. Okay, now that we have our 4 cups of milk, we're going to add our activator to it. So this was the activator that we made. We're going to add a 1/4 cup of that to our jar. It's okay if the jar is full. The yogurt won't expand that much, so this is perfectly fine. We're going to give our yogurt a little stir just to make sure that all of the good culture got distributed evenly. And we're going to cover it with a coffee filter. This is going to sit out at room temperature between 70 and 77 degrees for 12 to 18 hours. It's been 12 hours. Let's look at our jar. So right off the top, I can start to see the milk separating a little bit, and you can see curds start to form. It's not quite as liquidy as solid milk. You can see when I jiggle my jar that the milk stays in place rather than slosh all over the place, right? Like I'm not spilling it here. So we're gonna go ahead and get a spoon, see if we can get ourselves a nice scoop. So you can see from my spoonful that we have good thickness, good chunk. You can see it starting to separate, and it has nice plop, nice thickness, not too stringy. However, once you get past the top, you'll start to notice a little more thinness. That's when you know that your yogurt's not quite done yet, and you want to let it go for 18 hours. The way you can do that is by tilting your jar a little bit more, and you'll start to see that milk layer. And now you can see when I slosh it around, it almost spills. So we definitely will let this one go for 18 hours. It's been 18 hours and our yogurt's been culturing at room temperature. Let's check it out. I think it's gonna be ready. So, right off the bat, I can already see that it's separated a little bit more than our 12-hour yogurt was. You can tell it's got a little bit of a wiggle, but I think that's because of the curd and whey separation that's starting to happen. I'm gonna take a spoonful and we're gonna take a look. Ooh, yeah, so you can see a little bit more separation happening and a little bit more thickness on our jar here than you did the 12-hour. It holds its shape a little bit better, and it's all the way through too, right? So I just plunged my spoon in there and we got this nice big curd piece out of there. I like to keep my yogurt a little bit chunkier, but if you like it a little bit smoother and thinner, then you're welcome to stir it in. But this is definitely thick and ready to go. And you saw that our yogurt was cultured and ready to go in the fridge. We like to put our lids back on our jars to make sure any bad bacteria that might be in our fridge or in the air doesn't get into our yogurt. And then we're gonna go ahead and stick them in the fridge. Now that we've shown you how to activate and make your heirloom mesophilic starters, we're going to show you all our varieties so you can choose which ones are best for you to make at home. The first yogurt we're going to dive into is our Viili yogurt. This one's great because it's a little bit thicker for a mesophilic yogurt, but still comes out creamy. Let's get into it. So off the bat, I can tell that this guy is definitely a little bit thicker. Just by tilting it, I can see that the whole structure, I mean, this is almost 90 degrees and it's not coming out the jar. So this is a great thick yogurt. We're gonna take a little spoon off the top, holds its structure really well. It's got a nice little jiggle, and it falls right into our bowl. So this is a really great one. You can even see the spoonful I made, so that's the thickness that we're talking about. So this is one that we definitely recommend, obviously eating by itself. But this one, definitely great as a snack because it's a little bit thicker. This one's also gonna be great in smoothies. We like thick yogurts in our smoothies. We love putting this one in our smoothies. If we give it a little bit of a stir, it's gonna hold that thickness well. So you can still see we got a good, solid drip drop of a yogurt. The next yogurt we're gonna get into is our Filmjolk yogurt. This one's similar to the Viili in that it comes out very thick, but this one has more acidity and a little bit more tang, so we like it better in sauces like tzatziki and the sauce that we made for our tempeh lettuce tomato sandwich. If you check that one out on our website, let's open it up and get into it. So right off the bat, you can see that this one's also pretty thick, but it's also, I think, gonna pour. So that separation is great. That's really a sign of a good thick yogurt. Again, it holds its shape. It jiggles nice. If we give it a stir, it's gonna stay pretty thick too. So this one's really great, again, for yogurt-based sauces that we're using while we're cooking. Next yogurt in the lineup that we're gonna show y'all is our Matsoni yogurt. This is one of our thinner ones with the Piima. But this one is special because it has some really great honey notes in it. We like to use this one for biscuits, muffins, anything that we're baking with because of those great honey notes. This one is also actually coming out pretty thick as well too, but you can tell at that 90 degrees it plops out. This one's holding our structure, but as you jiggle it, you can see it has a little bit more of a jiggle and the curd doesn't hold as solid. When we give it a good stir, it's still gonna stay pretty thick, but this one will thin out just a little bit more, so you can see that drip line just come out a little bit cleaner than the chunky ones where it's just drop, drop, drop. The honey really comes out, especially when you add some fruit, but because of the honey, great for baking. The last of the mesophilic heirlooms that we're going to show you today is Piima. Piima is like Matsoni in that it's a little bit thinner, but this one's a little bit more mild. Doesn't have quite the crazy honey notes that Matsoni is going to have. This one is great, again, as a snack, like we said for all of them, but this one is also great for on-the-go drinking yogurt. So if you're giving your kids Go-Gurts on the go, fill up a cup and give them homemade yogurt instead. So let's get into this one. This one also looks a little bit thicker too, smells really, really good. We're gonna tilt her over a little bit. This one slides right out just like our Matsoni did because it's a little bit of a thinner one. And again, we're seeing it jiggle a little bit more, not quite hold that curd structure as much. And then once we stir it up, we're gonna have a little bit of our thinner yogurt again. So again, you're seeing that nice, smooth drip line rather than those huge clumps drop. So that's where we're gonna see that our yogurt's just a little bit thinner. And the best part is, about all of this, if you just saw all 4 of these and you still don't know which one you want to try this one. This package has all 4 of our heirloom mesophilic yogurts in it, and it really gives you a chance to decide which one is best for you and your family. So give them all a try. Here's some tips and tricks on how to develop thriving cultures. The first thing we want to pay attention to is our activation. When you're activating your yogurt, keep in mind that it's not always going to be thick on the first batch. That first batch could come out pretty runny, but don't be worried. The cultures are still developing and they're getting stronger and they're counting up, they're adding up, they're building, right? So wait 2-3 batches, make your next jars and see how those turn out. As the culture gets stronger and starts thriving, you're gonna get thicker and thicker yogurt. So if you're not happy with your first results, don't be defeated, try a few more. The other thing we would recommend, which will not only help with maintaining the thickness of your yogurt, but just the culture overall, is to make sure that you're culturing every 7 days. This will also help prevent bad bacteria from growing and help make sure that your culture is thriving and staying thick, because it will start to break down as it sits in the fridge over time. And with that, don't forget, I know it's hard, but when you're eating your jar of yogurt, don't eat the whole jar. Make sure that you save enough for your next batch. So if you're making a quart next time, make sure to save a 1/4 cup. If you're making 2 cups, you can save an 1/8 cup. But if you're making a big guy like this, make sure you save more, like a 1/3 cup or a 1/2 cup. All of those things will help you make sure that you are continuing to produce good, strong mesophilic heirloom cultures.